She asked me to refill the mimosas. In front of 8 women I didn't know. Wearing a silk blouse I hand-washed for her that morning. I wasn't even on the guest list. But do you know what happened right after that? Before I share what happened next, hit subscribe and let me know in the comments where you're listening from. I wasn't always the woman who knew the best way to remove wine stains from crystal or the fastest route to the specialty grocery store that carried imported figs. Those were tricks I picked up along the way, quietly, without praise. Like most things in my life, since Daniel married Elle. I raised Daniel from the age of 6. He was my husband's only child from a previous marriage, and after his mother passed, I did my best to be everything he needed. Not perfectly, never that, but faithfully. When Daniel got into Colombia, I cried like I'd given birth to him myself. And when he brought Elle home for Thanksgiving during his senior year, I folded the napkins into little swans and cooked her favorite gluten-free pie, even though I had to look up what almond flour crust meant. She had that kind of shine, Elle. Like the girl in high school who always knew when to laugh, when to cry, and exactly how to sit so that her expensive perfume caught the light. Daniel looked at her like she was a sunbeam. And I told myself to be happy for them. We all lived in the same zip code after the wedding. They bought the renovated 2-story in an upscale HOA neighborhood about 20 minutes from us. Close enough for Sunday dinners. Close enough for favors. That first year was filled with requests. Could you swing by and wait for the couch delivery? Elle has Pilates. Elle's stuck at the salon. Could you walk Baxter? Mom, Elle's not feeling great. She thinks she caught something from the seafood tower. Do you mind organizing the pantry while she rests? They always came wrapped in sugar. Daniel's voice was warm, grateful. And Elle? She had that soft, airy tone that made everything sound like a compliment. Oh, you're just so good at these things, I'd mess it up, honestly. You have the best taste in linens, way better than the decorator. I swear, you're the only one who can get our bathroom grout looking like new. It didn't start as bitterness. It started as convenience. I wanted to help. I wanted them to feel supported. And honestly, I liked being needed. After my husband passed, Daniel was the last real tie I had to family. Helping his home run smoothly gave me a sense of purpose. And Elle knew how to feed that need, at least at first. But then the lines started to blur. At Elle's baby shower, a guest asked who catered. Elle gestured vaguely and said, "Oh, my Amiel handled all that. She's kind of our in-house expert. No name. No thanks. Just in-house." When their daughter, Sienna, was born, I stayed for 5 weeks. I cooked, cleaned, did laundry, and took the baby for night feeds so Elle could bounce back for her postpartum photo shoot. Daniel would kiss me on the forehead and whisper, "You're amazing, Mom."
Elle?
She'd leave handwritten lists on the kitchen counter. "Lactation cookies, please. Could you steam Sienna's onesies? No onions in the quinoa this time." She stopped asking. She just expected. One time, I had to cancel a dentist appointment because Elle needed someone to let the pool guys in.
She didn't ask.
She just texted, "Pool cruise coming at 11. You'll be here, right? XO." I told myself I didn't mind, that this was just what family did. But then came the small slights. I wasn't included in their family portraits. My name wasn't on Sienna's daycare emergency contact. Elle started calling me by my first name around her friends instead of Mom or even Mrs. Carter. "Sheila, could you grab us a bottle of white? Sheila knows where I keep the wine opener, don't you?" And every time I smiled, because I told myself this was temporary. That one day, they'd realize how much I held things together. That they'd look back and remember I was the one wiping sticky floors and reading bedtime stories while Elle sipped cocktails at her Sip and C group. But recognition never came. What came instead was a brunch invitation.
Well,
technically not an invitation. Daniel had mentioned Elle was hosting her new book club at their house on Sunday. He said they were reading something about domestic suspense and that it was probably not my thing. I smiled and nodded. That Friday, Elle texted, "Hey, if you're free Sunday, I could really use your help keeping the snacks flowing and glasses topped off. Hosting is so chaotic. I'd owe you." There it was. The words. Live in help. And they all laughed. Like it was charming. Like it was a quirky little compliment. Something inside me tilted. My ears buzzed. The lighting in the room felt suddenly too bright. I wasn't even sure if Daniel was home. I cleared the empty mimosa glasses and walked into the kitchen without a word. The brunch carried on. The laughter, the book banter, the clinking of glasses. But something shifted in me that day. Not loudly, not with drama. Just a quiet decision. A pause. If she wanted to treat me like the help, I decided I'd start billing her like I was. And what came after that still doesn't sit right with me, does it? That night, I didn't sleep. Not from anger, not at first. It was more like a cold draft running along my spine. That feeling you get when someone smiles at you with teeth, but not with eyes. The realization that you'd been standing in the wrong room for years. I replayed the brunch moment over and over. She's basically our live-in help. I kept asking myself, did she even hear herself? But Elle didn't need to hear herself. Elle spoke in social currency. And in her world, hierarchy was survival. The moms who could host, decorate, and subtly assert dominance over one another, those were her people. What I was beginning to understand, slowly and painfully, was that I wasn't family. I was function. The next day, Daniel called. Hey, Elle said you looked a little off yesterday. Everything okay? I stared at my phone, blinking. Not what happened. Not thank you for helping. Just you looked off. I told him I was fine, that I might be coming down with something. He said, love you, distractedly, before hanging up. That week, I didn't go over.
No pantry restocks.
No errand runs. No babysitting Sienna while Elle got her hair glossed. I needed space. More than that, I needed dignity. I pulled out a notebook and started writing down every task I'd done in the last year. Not just the big ones, like caring for Sienna for 2 weeks while they were in Aspen, but the small ones too. Organizing their home office drawers, picking up dry cleaning, decorating their house for Halloween, then packing it all away. Hand-washing Elle's silk blouses after that wine spill she didn't mention. I itemized. I tallied. I put numbers next to tasks. Not for money. Not because I actually wanted to charge them, but because I needed to see it. I needed to prove to myself that I hadn't imagined the weight I'd been carrying. That weekend, Elle sent a message. Hey, any chance you can pop by Sunday? HOA is doing surprise landscaping inspections, and Daniel's out golfing. You're just so good with that clipboard guy, LOL. I didn't reply. Not Sunday. Not Monday. Not at all. Tuesday afternoon, I got a call from the HOA rep. Hi, Mrs. Carter. Just checking if Daniel and Elle got your report. We'd love to move forward with that compliance fee proposal. Amazing work, by the way. Very thorough. I froze. My report? Apparently, months earlier, Elle had volunteered me, to sit on the HOA's landscaping compliance subcommittee. She said I was retired and detail-oriented. I remember the day vaguely. A clipboard was placed in my hand. Elle had waved it off. Just circle the bushes you think look messy, it's easy. Except I hadn't circled bushes. I'd cataloged structural violations, improper grading, storm drain blockages, and 4 non-compliant sheds, one of which belonged to Elle's neighbor and brunch bestie, Victoria. The HOA was thrilled. Elle was not. That night, she called me. Her tone was brittle-glass cheerful. Hey Sheila, small issue. Did you submit a formal report to the HOA? I kept my voice even. I submitted what they asked me to. You signed me up, remember? A pause. Then she exhaled dramatically. Right, it's just...
Vixen.
Her fee went up. And now they're saying we need to repaint our side fence and remove those planters. It's all just very sudden. I didn't respond. She kept going. I mean, it's a bit much, don't you think? You live like 15 minutes away. You're not even technically a resident here. And there it was again. Not family. Function. I let her hang in the silence for a moment. Then I said, well, Elle, if I'm just the help, consider this free consultation my final favor.
Click.
I ended the call. I expected Daniel to call me after that. He didn't. What I got instead was a string of passive-aggressive messages from Elle. Hope your week is going great. Sienna misses her GG 2 hearts. Did you mean to flag our back trellis? Just checking, smiling face with smiling eyes. Also, do you still have the keys to our side gate? Just wondering. I didn't reply. 2 weeks passed. Then one morning I saw her at Trader Joe's, of all places. Elle was standing near the frozen section, talking on the phone, animated. I watched from a distance.
No clipboard. No guests.
No audience. Just her. I walked up quietly. She jumped a little when she saw me.
Sheila.
Oh my God, what a coincidence. I smiled. Hope you're doing well. Her voice dropped half a pitch. Listen, about the HOA thing, I know you're probably upset about the brunch joke.
Joke.
That's what she called it. She placed a hand on her chest like she was about to recite a prayer. I just meant that you're always so helpful. I wasn't trying to, diminish anything. I nodded. I know. Then I leaned in, lowering my voice just enough to keep the words between us. But here's the thing, Elle. You didn't treat me like the help because you thought I was helpful. You treated me like that because it made you feel more important. Her eyes widened. People were starting to notice. I think you're reading way too much into this, she said, nervously adjusting her cardigan. I smiled again, calmly. You're right. I should have charged you a long time ago. And then I walked away. That evening, I pulled out the notebook again. The list had grown.
Hours.
Gas mileage. Errands. Babysitting. I attached a polite cover letter, formatted the document like an invoice. For all unbilled services rendered between March 2017 and October 2023.
No threats. No sarcasm.
Just a quiet math of everything she'd once believed came free. And I mailed it to the address she never bothered to memorize.
Mine.
I didn't expect a reply. I didn't even expect her to open the envelope. But she did. 3 days later, I got an email. Not a text. Not a call. An email. Subject. Confused. She wrote.
Sheila?
I received your letter and the document. I'm not sure if this was meant as a joke or something symbolic, but it honestly made me cry.
I didn't realize you felt that way.
I wish you had said something sooner.
Can we talk? No apology. No ownership.
Just confusion.
Tears.
As if my pain had hurt her feelings. I didn't reply. Instead, I forwarded the invoice to Daniel. With a short message. For your awareness. And that's when the cracks really started to show. Daniel called within the hour. His voice had that half-choked quality it got when he was angry but trying not to sound like it. Mom, what is this? A record, I said calmly.
He scoffed.
A record of what? Are you saying Elle owes you money? I'm saying Elle treated me like staff. I thought she might appreciate knowing the market rate. Silence. Then he said it, that one sentence that told me everything. I think you're blowing this way out of proportion. My throat tightened, but I didn't let it break me. No, I said. You just never saw how small she made me feel. And that's on you.
He didn't respond.
We didn't speak for weeks. I didn't go to Thanksgiving that year. Didn't get a call for Christmas. No photos of Sienna opening presents. Just silence. And in that silence, something surprising happened. I started breathing again. I took a part-time job at a vintage bookshop down the street. Nothing dramatic. Just 12 hours a week, a couple of shifts helping organize first editions and old travel guides. I stopped checking my phone every few hours. I bought myself a set of crisp white linen sheets. Burned a lavender candle at night. Read long books with no interruptions. Then, in early February, I got a message from Victoria. Yes, that Victoria.
Elle est brunch bestie.
The one who'd been slapped with a fine over her non-compliant garden shed. Hi Sheila, this is Victoria Carr. I believe you were on the HOA landscaping committee last fall. Could we meet for a quick chat? I'd love your insight. Now that was unexpected. We met at a cafe, neutral ground. She was polite, formal, but clearly rattled. I've recently joined the finance subcommittee, she said. We're trying to understand why Elle's family dues have doubled. I sipped my coffee. Probably because their home was flagged for multiple violations. Yes, but she said you orchestrated that. That you did it to embarrass her. I gave a light shrug. I simply did the job I was assigned. The violations were real.
Victoria hesitated.
I think there's more going on, don't you? I didn't answer, but I held her gaze. And in that silence, she seemed to understand. She leaned forward. She talks about you like you're this overbearing martyr. But I remember that brunch. And honestly, it felt off. The way she spoke to you. There it was. Validation. Quiet. Unexpected. But real. Victoria went on. She's been spiraling. Complaining about how ungrateful you've become. But honestly, I think she's afraid you're done. That you've finally stopped serving. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. That night, I walked through my house and noticed something. It felt like mine again.
No lingering obligation.
No invisible thread pulling me toward their chaos. Until Daniel showed up at my door. Unannounced. He looked exhausted. Disheveled in a way I wasn't used to seeing.
No suit. No polished shoes.
Just sneakers and that old college hoodie I hadn't seen since undergrad. Can I come in? I stepped aside. We sat at the dining table, the same table where I'd once helped him practice SAT flashcards, where I'd cut Sienna's birthday cake, where Elle had left thank you notes for baby shower gifts I had written on her behalf. I read the whole invoice, he said. And his voice cracked. I didn't know. I really didn't. I believed him. But that wasn't enough anymore. You didn't want to know, I said softly. He nodded. Elle says you're punishing her. I'm not, I said. I'm just finally done enabling her. He looked down at his hands. I miss you, he said. Sienna misses you. I miss who you used to be, I whispered. We sat there, in thick silence. Not angry. Not warm. Just broken open. I think we need space, he said finally. I've already taken mine. He nodded. Then he left. That was the last time I saw him for nearly 3 months. And that's when the second act of the story began. Because the book club didn't last. The HOA started getting complaints, not about landscaping but about Elle. Petty grievances. Noise issues. Improper party permits. Turns out, when you make the people around you feel, sometimes it looks like a slow loosening of the jaw. Sometimes it looks like going a full day without narrating the past in your head. And sometimes, it's just the quiet acknowledgement that the version of you who tolerated the worst is finally gone. The following week, Daniel called. I read her letter, he said. She didn't send it to you for show. She didn't even tell me about it. That surprised me. She's been seeing someone, he added. A therapist. On her own. I didn't say anything. I wasn't ready to hand out gold stars. She wants to meet, he said. I agreed. Not to fix things. Not to go back. But to close the loop. We met at a park, neutral, open air, no table between us. Elle brought Sienna, who ran to me without hesitation. I bent down and hugged her like muscle memory. She still smelled like strawberry shampoo and cinnamon snacks. Elle looked smaller. Not physically, but emotionally.
No blowout. No lip gloss.
Just a sweatshirt, jeans, and eyes that didn't dodge mine. Thank you for coming, she said. I nodded. We sat on a bench while Sienna ran toward the playground. I can't undo how I treated you, Elle said. But I'm learning where it came from. And I'm learning to shut it down before it reaches anyone else. I watched Sienna try to climb a slide that was too steep. She'll copy what you model, I said. Not what you say.
Elle nodded slowly.
That's what scares me. Then she reached into her purse and handed me something. A folded piece of paper. It was a printed invoice. The one I had sent. Except this time, the word paid was stamped across the top. I blinked. Daniel said, It's not from him, she said. I took on a side project for a few months. Design consulting. I wanted this to come from me. My first instinct was to reject it. Tell her it wasn't necessary. That I didn't want her money. But then I caught myself. Because that's exactly what I always did. Dismiss my worth. Downplay the damage. Pretend peace was more important than fairness. I folded the paper and slipped it into my bag. Thank you, I said. Not smiling. Not warm. Just honest. We didn't hug. We didn't promise to start over. But when Sienna came running back, Elle let her sit on my lap without hesitation. And that was enough. Time passed. We didn't become best friends, but we found a rhythm. I didn't go back to being on call. I visited when invited, declined when I had plans, set boundaries with no apology. Elle changed too. Not loudly. She started introducing me as my mother-in-law, Sheila, who practically held our house together for years. And when someone complimented the centerpiece at her brunch a few months later, she smiled and said, "Actually, Sheila taught me that trick. She's got a real eye." It wasn't a fairy tale. It was better, because it was earned. Sometimes, soft revenge isn't about destruction. It's about distance. It's about letting someone feel the quiet cold where your warmth used to live. And when, or if, they earn their way back in, it's not because you begged. It's because they finally saw what they lost. And you finally saw yourself.